The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the next 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoiners, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. This is not the final episode of the Bitcoin Group. Joining me today on this all-star panel is Derrick J of DerrickJ.me. I'm sorry, is it DerrickJ.me?
Oh, it sure is. Hey,
Yes.
everyone. How you doing today?
All right. And Will Pangman of Topeki.com.
Hi, guys.
Thanks for joining us, and I'm MK Lords, filling in for Thomas Hunt, who is battling a minotaur to avenge his father. Moving on. Issue 1. Mycelium's Bitcoin wallet suspended from the Google Play Store. The popular and intuitive Mycelium Bitcoin wallet has been removed from the Google Play Store, and after submitting a beta version for testing. Google says it was a violation of their terms and conditions, but the developers disagree. Some have mentioned that the transaction fee that goes to the miners is to blame, but Google is being quiet so far. How will this affect the Mycelium wallet? What are your thoughts? Derrick?
So there's a lot in this. First of all, I just view it as a simple mistake by Google. Like, they're a monolith of a company, and sometimes they have to err on the side of caution. If they heard that they were violating, that Mycelium was violating the terms of service, it would be a prudent move to just take it off the market, wait for things to get sorted out, and I think that's what they're doing. But I think they also made a mistake in doing that. Mycelium is not violating the terms of service, and even if they are, their wallet app needs to exist in a way that Google should just change its policy if they are violating terms of service. There was nothing nefarious going on. Anything, it's probably having to do with the ad hoc economy that Mycelium provides. You can buy and sell and trade Bitcoin with other people in your area in a pretty cool and innovative way. It's like an alternative to local Bitcoins. Anyway, this is an awesome opportunity for Mycelium to get some news coverage, to bounce back and be like, we're back, and we've changed our name. We're no longer Mycelium, which was impossible to find and tell people about because it's like, my what? I don't want to download that. That sounds like a virus. So now they can be like Simple Wallet or something really easy and friendly sounding. And it could be a good opportunity for them. They can spin this into something positive.
It's not a virus, but it is a fungus, and it is hard to spell. Will?
That's a good one, Megan. Yeah, I don't think that they'll be rebranding, but it certainly is cause for consideration for Google to look at their terms of service. I wondered the same thing, Derrick, that maybe this had to do with the local trader part of the app, which is their local Bitcoin sort of copycat kind of thing. But I don't, just in thinking about this, I don't think that's it. I looked in my Mycelium wallet on my Android tablet to look around and see what could have possibly gotten this wallet pulled, and I think it was maybe in the settings there's a section where you can donate to Mycelium because they're an open source project, because they're in beta, because this is like the culture, this is like software building culture and global internet, propagation type of thing. That's kind of the culture, especially in Bitcoin. Everyone's throwing up their address and their signature on message boards, and now with ChangeTip, of course, there's all kinds of activity there. So I really think it's probably because they're domiciled outside of the USA. They're an international company, and they're, at least in Google's eyes, maybe looking like a charity, and they don't have a 501c3 or C6 or whatever. So that probably is my guess for why they got pulled, and I imagine it'll take, some kind of Herculean effort beyond just pulling that feature to get back into the Google store. Just to get back in good graces with Google, there's probably some sort of hoop they have to jump through. Who knows? But yeah, I think Mycelium will be back and intact, and they've got some cool things in the pipeline. If you're paying attention around the Miami conference, there were some sort of rumors and things hinted at, and some cool hardware display down at Miami. So if you're down there and you got a chance to see a sneak peek at what Mycelium has coming beyond just the Entropy paper wallet printer dongle that they have coming out soon too. So Mycelium's here to stay. Everyone, relax. Google, maybe as the techno behemoth that you are, get hip with the times and maybe start participating in some of these online communities and realize that this is normal activity.
Good points. Thank you. Let's see. Issue 2. MyCoin customers report $8.1 million in losses to Hong Kong police. Hong Kong authorities are investigating the collapse of the MyCoin exchange, which resulted in the loss of $8.1 million, with estimates as high as $387 million. They suspect the exchange was a typical Ponzi scheme, with investors being told that they could earn back their investment by bringing in more clients beneath them. The investors were furious and contacted Hong Kong lawmakers, some of whom joined the ever-growing chorus of people wanting to ban Bitcoin. Will Hong Kong ban Bitcoin? Is the threat of corrupt exchanges real enough to justify government protection? Will?
No, I don't think Hong Kong will react by banning Bitcoin. I know they issued a warning to Hong Kong residents and consumers that, to beware of Bitcoin. But that's kind of, par for the course. We're going to see a lot of these companies continue to show up, offer something too good to be true, for some reason, get it over on lots of greater fools and hurt them. This kind of thing will continue to go on probably until there are some really entrenched, solid, well-known businesses. So this is just kind of buyer beware. You need to make sure that there's a physical address associated with the company you're doing business with on their website. If you're not familiar with the Bitcoin ecosystem, definitely make sure there's a physical address, make sure there are people's names, kind of look deeply, because people can take 2 years to create an online identity with a profile on every major website, and let that, keep that profile active for like a year, 2 years. It looks like a real person who just got all these websites profiles 2 years ago, and really all it was is a sock puppet to jump on the scene with some business opportunity and take all your money, and then go off into the wilderness with your money. So make sure you vet these things. Make sure you vet these businesses. Talk to go on forums, go on the troll boxes of these exchanges, find out what people think about these other companies. And there's too many solid companies in the space right now who will survive more than likely, and just do your business with them. There's so many features on the market these days. If something's too good to be true, it probably is.
Derrick?
How embarrassing for these customers to ask for the government to ban something that they were just investing in without caution. It's about personal responsibility. With investing, there's risk. That's why there's reward. And it would be silly for an investor to think that he could get reward without risk. So for him to have sore feelings about a loss, I mean, of course this is fraud. This is not the typical way to lose in investing. However, the principle remains that you're responsible for your own investments. Buyer beware. This is age-old wisdom, and I want to just read one of the quotes from the CoinDesk article, which made me laugh out loud. This is from one of the lawmakers in Hong Kong who said to the people, quote, "It's simply not enough to just ask people to exercise caution when investing. It has to ban the circulation of such a virtual currency in the market." As if a ban for one single thing is going to solve the problem of there being risk in the world. It's laughable.
Yep, due diligence as usual, and good luck banning Bitcoin. I don't know how that's going to work out for them. I do want to give an update. Chad Crypto just commented, Mycelium seems to still be on Google Play. I just updated it. So maybe their decision was reversed. I may have missed that news. So a slight correction on the first story there. So moving on.
For a moment, it's my understanding that for most apps, that if you have them already downloaded, that you're still able to update them, but new users who do not have the app are not able to acquire it. I could be wrong about that as well, but that's my belief.
Okay. We'll look more into it, definitely. Thank you. Let's see. Issue 3. New York City councilman proposes Bitcoin payments for fines and fees. New York City Council member Mark Levine is introducing a bill on Thursday that would allow residents to pay for any fines and fees they owe the city using Bitcoin. This could include parking tickets, court fees, and other similar charges. The Department of Finance recently discussed being open to alternative payment systems like Apple Pay and Google Wallet. The Finance Department noted that it collects roughly $600 million annually from parking fines and penalties each year. Gross. It seems like New York is wising up to the idea of making it easy for people to pay their fines in any way they can. But is this a good thing? Would you pay your fines, in Bitcoin, or are you hodling? Derrick?
Yeah, this is really interesting for a lot of reasons. First, most people don't understand how the current monetary system works. They don't understand what fiat currency is. Most Bitcoiners do, but not most people in general. And that includes lawmakers. So when they push for things like accepting Bitcoin, I don't think they see how much they're shooting themselves in the foot. Of course, it's just one branch of government doing this, but I looked at the article. It says that they would save, quote, millions of dollars in processing fees. And I had to say, well, wait a minute. If that's just the processing fees, how much are they making? It says $30 billion in revenue. They call it revenue, but it's really extortion, annually. And that's billion with a B. So that's a lot of money that they say, according to Levine, this lawmaker who's proposing it, this would convey to the world that New York is on the cutting edge, which, again, is laughable. Well, it's good for them that they're willing to embrace this currency. Obviously, if people want to use it, the option should be available to them. But then again, he says that it would take about a year, maybe 6 months, as fast as 6 months for them to begin accepting it. Of course, most business people or mom and pop shops can set up a Bitcoin wallet in a matter of minutes. So I'm curious what's going to take them so long. Maybe they have to build up the bureaucracy and open a few new offices in order to accept Bitcoin. But no, it doesn't. It's not something that attracts me. I don't want to spend my Bitcoin in rewarding the state. I want to keep my Bitcoin from them. And if I even choose to pay their fines at all.
Well?
Yeah, so I don't know how they're spending money on processing fees. Maybe they are, but every time that I have to pay the government for anything, a parking ticket, traffic ticket, any sort of fine or levy or anything, and I want to pay in a credit card, whether in person at the courthouse, city hall, or online, there's always a processing fee in addition to the fine, that because I'm using a credit card, of course. So that I always assumed, and I could be wrong, but I really think this is probably accurate, they were passing their credit card processing fee along to me. And if you think about any other small business or any other business, that they assume the credit card processing fee, and because otherwise the credit cards wouldn't be convenient for customers. Customers would go elsewhere, and they just can't afford that. They need the business volume because of most of these retail shops are very low margin. So the state is not low margin. They have. I know we can talk deficits and debts all we want, but whatever their overhead just inflates to match the increased budget that they've been allotted and whatever revenues, quote unquote, that they've been able to acquire. So, if they have a surplus, the next year they're gonna not have a surplus, right? So, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. UPS, I know they're not. It's a private company. It relies on the state for much of its business, but it's certainly a private company. They showed up and they wanted to deliver something to me from Canada. And the person sending it to me didn't pay I forget what fee it was called, but it was like a $35 charge to, for customs or something, right? That probably the person who sent it to me didn't know was part of the deal. So they wouldn't take a credit card or a debit card, and they wouldn't take cash. And I asked, I'm just a pesky Bitcoiner, right? So I'm asking the UPS guy why he won't take cash. It's because, they don't want drivers with cash in their pockets because it's dangerous, and they won't take credit cards because of the fraud. right? That because of chargebacks. So I'm like, I kind of bit my tongue and I said, well, I don't have a check or money order to give you today, so you'll have to come back. And he brought it back, and I went, and I actually had to go to the bank to get a counter check because that was cheaper than a money order to be able to pay for my package. So this is kind of the quandary that we're in here with all these services. It's not going to take them 6 months to do anything unless they think that it's like setting up a credit card processing infrastructure, which might take several months for a bureaucracy. So, but Bitcoin it's much different, as we all know. So yeah, it's interesting. It raises the profile of Bitcoin. It certainly does what the lawmaker said, you know, showing that New York City is forward thinking with technology, trying to be out in front of things, but really they're trying to be out in front of things to slow them down, and they won't be able to do that. So it's hard to communicate to folks that there's already privacy assuring payment technologies where you won't have to worry about identity theft, you won't have to worry about drivers carrying wads of cash, and so on and so on. So we're here. They just need to catch up.
Yeah, it seems like they're playing both sides of this thing, and it's really kind of evil genius if you think about it, but I won't be giving any of my bitcoins to the state. They already take enough of my money. So, all right, next issue. Bitcoin, okay, Thomas Hunt of the Bitcoin group. Hold on, let me start the screen share. I'm not as smooth as Thomas, I'm just filling in. All right. BTCJam hires a new community manager, and that's Thomas Hunt of the Bitcoin group. Turns out he's not fighting Minotaurs after all. So this is a very exciting development for one of our own, and he's quoted as saying, "I'm excited to start a new challenge with BTCJam and look forward to working with the team to further develop peer-to-peer lending and spread the word about Bitcoin globally." Congratulations, Thomas. That's awesome. And as a result of this mix-up, Derrick J and I will be swapping hosting duties for the Bitcoin group this month. We wish Thomas the best on his new endeavor. Guys have any comments?
Yeah, I'm super excited for Thomas. You know, I know this was something that he wanted really bad, so I'm really glad that that they got the right guy. So he's going to do great things for BTCJam. And I don't think he's going to be able to completely leave what he built here at World Crypto Network. So I'm sure everyone in the audience will, you know, don't sweat it. You'll be seeing Thomas, I'm sure, pretty regularly. And good luck, Thomas. You're gonna do great things for that company.
We're here today continuing the Bitcoin group. The fact that the World Crypto Network continues to press on is a tribute to Thomas's dedication and his abilities in this area of community organizing. So I wish him the best, and we will continue the Bitcoin group each week with big smiles and hope that he can join us again soon.
Yes. Thanks, Thomas, for giving us this opportunity. So let's see, moving on, issue number 5. I think you guys are going to like this one. All right, issue 5. The Silk Road 2.0 database is up for grabs in the first Darkleaks auction. Bitcoin Talk user SR Douglas announced on Tuesday the sale of Silk Road 2.0 data, including information on 476,122 Silk Road 2.0 users, 51,490 deposit addresses, 7,700 plaintext passwords, 13,280 deep web product listings, 52,481 private messages, 145,493 market transaction records, and the entire Silk Road 2.0 source code. Woo! The Dread Pirate Roberts will be doing this sale. I'm sorry, the Dread Pirate Douglas will be doing this sale on Darkleaks, a distributed information platform that uses blockchain technology to verify secrets and sell them to the highest bidder. Now, the author of this article on Medium.com is Andrea Castillo, formerly interviewed on Crypto Combos, and she explains Darkleaks separates the leak into 100 segments and encrypts it using the Bitcoin blockchain. The private keys of each segment are used to create a public Bitcoin key that controls the leak. Whoever learns the public key can access the content. The encrypted files in Bitcoin. Darkleaks is trustless but raises questions about the morality of sharing certain secrets. Developer Amir Taki has said that only the powerful have something to fear from information freedom. But Castillo points out that Darkleaks is a tool that could be used for the more powerful against the weaker, like activists, whistleblowers, and spies. What are your thoughts on Darkleaks and information anarchy? Derrick?
I don't know what that term means, information anarchy. To me, I guess that would be information freedom, and I'm for it. I'm a very public guy. I live by example in this respect, that I have no secrets. I'm an open book, and I think that that's the way the world is moving. Because of the information age, we have access to everything that we want to know at our fingertips. The danger here is that privacy is decreasing, and it's just going to require that people who want to retain privacy become a little bit more sophisticated in things like cryptography. And there are just new tools that we're going to have to learn to use. And you know, my heart goes out to people who are making mistakes in these early days of information freedom. But this is a wonderful technology. I think that there are some excellent implications that could result because of this. Like, I could see a WikiLeaks 2.0 resulting from this, and creating a market for information is even better. It creates an incentive for people to dig in and find this information. Like for WikiLeaks, there's no incentive for people like Bradley Manning to go and risk his life and his freedom and then have the rest of his life ruined just for revealing some very essential information to the public. But if they're perhaps rewarded financially for the information that they reveal, then at least they've got some, I don't know, at least they've got something good, some reward for their risk. So I see it as overall a very good thing. I can see why people might be afraid of it, but again, if you want your privacy, there are going to still be ways to retain it. It just requires learning a bit about some new tools.
Yeah, I certainly haven't thought this all the way through, but at first glance, I mean, all of these kinds of innovations that allow for trustless exchange or new marketplaces that are trustless or that are empowering for the weak and the many, these are all massively great things. Now, I'm going to have to, you know, maybe one of you two could comment more about. I haven't looked into it enough. I'm not sure how a tool like Darkleaks could be used against someone who's unknown or like you know, a whistleblower. You know, I'm not sure how that would work against someone like that. Maybe you guys could elucidate that fact. But yeah, Darkleaks is cool. I am skeptical that this Doug is actually a former admin or whatever of the Silk Road. Clearly, the source code of Silk Road 2.0 is there, but that's not impossible to come across. And these passwords could be from anywhere too. There's lots of people publishing data dumps of passwords, not only in the dark web but in the clear web as well. And it could easily be parsed through to, you know, again, this is a good trial case for this technology as well. If the data is false, you know, like it's not actually from the Silk Road, or the guy isn't who he says he is, or whatever, then this could be like a nice test for this technology to see if it can uncover that fact relatively quickly and dispense with that. So dispense with that speculation. I'm interested to see. I don't know. It's a very, very risky and brazen, like incredibly ballsy thing to do that this guy is doing, because of, as we know, how difficult it is to keep an online identity anonymous. That he is putting himself out there in a way that I think it just, to me, unless he's incredibly just full of chutzpah, you know, that it probably is an idea to both test Darkleaks and maybe make some money on it, and also maybe distract a bunch of agents of alphabet soup agencies on some wild goose chase temporarily. So I mean, that would seem to me to be like the most obvious possibility, but who knows? We'll find out. And again, about my earlier question, you guys, explain how this could be used against a little guy, please.
So an example Andrew uses in the article is in 2011, WikiLeaks published a bunch of unredacted diplomatic cables, and what it did is it exposed the identities of whistleblowers and human rights activists. So that's one problem. She did mention, and a lot of this is hypothetical because, this is something that hasn't been tried yet. But yeah, it depends. I mean, this could be, it's a tool ultimately, so anyone could use it. So other governments could use it against, governments could use it against each other, things like that. What are your thoughts, Derrick?
What are my thoughts on what, more specifically?
Can you think of anything where this technology could benefit the government against activists or against people in maybe weaker positions?
Yeah, information is power. So if people are not careful, I mean, this is a real warning for do-gooders out in the world that if you're doing, if you're the Julian Assange of your day, then you need to spend some time learning about cryptography and privacy. Just a quick plug for a friend of ours, Christoph Atlas, who wrote a book called Anonymous Bitcoin Book, and you can get it at anonymousbitcoinbook.com. That's filled with tools that people can use to increase their level of anonymity online. You're never going to be perfect, but yeah, that would be my recommendation. As it sounds smart. I feel bad for people like Julian Assange, who's currently locked away. He's been in the Swiss embassy for over a year now. I mean, he can only visit the world via hologram. That's a shame. So hopefully people like Dread Pirate Douglas are helping develop the tools for the 21st century of information leakers. I really see this more as a tool for freedom activists to reveal what government agents are doing, because freedom activists don't do very much in secret. We're often very public, but government agents are operating in secret. And it's interesting what the first leak is, that it's the Silk Road 2.0, which for those who have followed the story know that was created by government agents pretty much from the start. That if not having been created by government agents, it was infiltrated by government agents very early on. And so it's just a matter of fact that a lot of the web address, or the what do they say, the deposit addresses, the plain text passwords, and private messages are going to be from government agents. So while that might not reveal much about their identities, it can reveal a little bit about how they operate, and that could be studied and benefited from.
Yeah, one other thought that I had, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to see Darkleaks as a vehicle for any information out there from anyone who'd like to help certain whistleblowers or activists or people who are borderline martyrs, become exonerated, perhaps. I mean, this could be the way, because we know WikiLeaks isn't a perfect tool in this regard. Has many flaws. Just to leave it at that. But this platform, with its trustlessness and things like that, could be a way for someone who knows something about, for example, the still at large DPR, who ostensibly has is in the clear right now with the 2.0 DPR in jail, and Ross being sentenced here soon. So I mean, if there's anything out there that could further implicate, let's say, I don't know, Mark Karpeles or whoever it may be who's still at large, the real criminals, actual criminals who've harmed people or whatever, then that's great, and we can exonerate some of these people who've had the rough shake, to put it lightly.
That's an interesting point, Will, because one of the frustrations I had with the Silk Road trial was that the government just, it didn't give evidence. It gave allegations, and the jury just accepted those allegations on face because they came from the government. And this provides an alternative for that sort of trust, where you just say, well, I don't know what's true, so I'm going to take the government's word for it. Well, we don't have to do that anymore if you can have a trustless system that uses cryptography and a blockchain technology to prove that the information is what it claims to be. So, that's something that I would hope to see, maybe even after the Silk Road trial, if we could if there's a bounty for this information about the original Silk Road, and we could see some of the messages that the government alleges happened, but actually, verify that they did or not. It would be interesting to go back and see, because I haven't been shown any evidence to my satisfaction that Ross did what is alleged.
Yeah, it definitely democratizes information in a lot of ways, and whether or not, the justice system would end up using something like that, it is a tool that gives the people a direct link to the information, and they can find it out for themselves. So that's an interesting facet. So one thing is, I encourage everyone to read the article, because she really looks into both sides of it. There are a lot of pros and cons, but ultimately it's a tool that has been invented already, and it's out there now, so anyone can use it. Whether that's for good or bad. And as with any tool, you can't assign a moral value on the tool. So we'll definitely be seeing the consequences of this. It's already out there, so this is already going to happen, which I think is really interesting. I guess we're moving on to questions and answers. We have some good comments here. Another one from Chad Crypto. Excellent. So they reversed the decision on Mycelium. Just read their Twitter. Seems the donation button is what got them removed. They needed to prove they were a charity to have one. So they removed it and got reinstated. I've seen this with PayPal donations. So that's good news. So yeah, so we definitely, the Mycelium wallet is back and can be updated. And yeah, it seems like they didn't like that donation button. Didn't someone mention that? Was it Will or Derrick?
No, that was Will. Good job, Will.
It was a good guess.
All right. And another one from Infinite Radio. Infinite Radio says, changing the government font will save a crazy amount of money too. Regardless, when has any savings by new government practices resulted in money in the average citizen's pocketbook?
Yeah, I really don't think they're saving money on transaction fees, because those are deferred to us, the person who's paying those fees, right? So I really think that's what that is. I mean, and it's all just service. What sounds good? You can say a lot of nothing as a politician and get away with it, as we've seen from, well, Bernanke was amazing at doing that, but there were lots of others who they get away with saying a whole lot of nothing. And it sounds good.
On this topic of governments accepting Bitcoin in exchange for payment of fines, I think it's just so interesting that there's an economic incentive for governments to accept Bitcoin. In a way, they're admitting that it's better than their own money.
That's a good point. All right, any more questions and answers? We're going to do like a last call for some questions here. In the meantime, definitely check out the Bitcoin group and World Crypto Network on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and YouTube. There's a bunch of really good shows coming out on the World Crypto Network, a lot of independent journalists, and there's such a good variety on there. So definitely be sure to check that out. Definitely donate if you support the journalism that you see. And I guess we can move on to questions and answers if there's no more audience questions, or not questions and answers, but predictions or story of the week. So did something move you this week, or did you get a prophetic vision of the future, Will Pangman?
Actually, it's funny you should ask, because I kind of did. I'm not following too closely the Bitcoin Foundation elections, but every now and then it pops across my, comes into my orbit, and it's interesting. Some of these candidates I wasn't aware of, but it looks like the two candidates in the lead are going to be very interesting if they both win. Olivier Janssens, who you might remember put up a $100,000 bounty for a program that would replace the foundation, which it ended up kind of becoming light, you know. And then Bruce Fenton is up there in the top two pretty much, and he's of course been very outspoken against draconian regulation of Bitcoin, or just, you know, governmental overreach with regard to Bitcoin in general. He's been very outspoken against Benjamin Losky, really calling a spade, which is courageous when you have a bunch of other, you know, maybe they're regrettable liquors, maybe they're, you know, maybe they're just happy lapdogs, I don't know. But a lot of people like praising this guy for just, oh man, I don't know. If you've read the Bit License, you need to hear me say anything further. But if either of these guys or both of them win, we're going to see a radically different Bitcoin Foundation. A story that just came across my desk, I think it was yesterday. It was in the CNBC actually, that the Bitcoin Foundation is going to be focused on consumer advocacy and community outreach. They have a program where Tally Capital, which is Flip Filipowski and Matthew Rozak, who have been, you know, heavy investors in the Bitcoin space as well as the 2.0 projects, and Bruce Fenton really spearheaded this, apparently it sounds like, and there's a couple other businesses, Bitfury, the mining conglomerate, and BitGo, the security company, the multi-sig wallet. So all of these companies are coming together to do something that Pamela Morgan and I were working on advocating that the foundation do a year ago, which is some community outreach with a comprehensive program. And so, you know, our effort didn't go through. Let's just leave it there. But it's great to see that this is happening now. And if we see Bruce on the board with Olivier, or Cody in there too, Cody Wilson, man, there's some. I think there's going to be some shakeup, a lot more transparency. They might be able to rescue this organization and and at least neuter some of its centralized properties, right? So that's very interesting to me. That sounds like it's a good thing that's happening. It's not often I can say good things about how the community views the Bitcoin Foundation, but I think the community might be able to see it in greater favor in the near future. We'll see.
All right. Derrick? Can't quite hear you.
So I had my microphone muted. This was alluded to in one of the earlier stories that we covered about New York, and it just had a one-sentence blurb saying, oh yeah, also New Hampshire has a bill that's been proposed to allow residents to pay taxes and fees in Bitcoin. And that's true. I had some friends who went to the State House yesterday to go speak in favor of the bill. I also had one friend who spoke against it. It was interesting to see that some people have different perspectives on this. The one who spoke against it was opposed because he says it would grow the size of government. They would have to introduce a new bureaucracy in order to accept this, and that's true. So anything that grows government is something I'm skeptical of. But also, this is a positive news story because it makes New Hampshire, all the things that were claimed by Levine in New York is also true of New Hampshire, except there's one advantage. New Hampshire is already considered and likely to pass a bill that would take all restrictions of government regulation away from cryptocurrencies, all cryptocurrencies. And that's really important because in a place like New York where they're saying, oh, we want to show that we're cutting edge because you can pay fines in Bitcoin, but also they heavily regulate businesses that want to develop new technologies and services for the Bitcoin space. It's a mixed message, like, okay, yeah, we'll accept your funny money, but also we need to wag the finger of government at you and make sure that you're obeying all of our old rules. It doesn't make any sense to me. New Hampshire has the right approach where the lawmakers are saying, look, we don't understand this thing, we're going to stay out of it. The government has no part in regulating a currency that it didn't create. You know, this came from the market, and we're just going to leave it there, and we will accept it if people want to pay us in it. Why not? You know, that option should be available to people. It gives me a lot of it gives me a lot of hope for the future of Bitcoin businesses in New Hampshire.
There's definitely a lot of hope for the future, and yeah, guys, this has been a great Bitcoin group, and we'll definitely be back next week. It is not the last episode. We kind of joked about that last week, but the Bitcoin group is not going to be stopping. So thanks again, panelists, for joining me, and I guess until next time, bye-bye.